I am Rachel Connett, and this is Module 5, Understanding My Community, Seaman USD 345 here in Topeka, Kansas. So with our customs and traditions, Seaman is a smaller district here in Topeka, Kansas, and it's a very close-knit community. So a lot of people work in the community and do a lot of their play and activities within the community. We sit north of Topeka, the city of Topeka, and often people tend to think Seaman is its own little city. So North Topeka, Seaman District. The social class is the biggest structure with impact. We do have a marching band that's very big, very competitive, and very good. Lots of district sports and local community teams just within our district community lines. We have reward trips at the secondary level. We have district-wide wellness nights. We have annual district-sponsored and supported events, such as we have a annual classic car show. We have band concerts that happen every year. We have Seaman Education Advantage Foundation has annual scholarships and annual banquet, and then they also host an annual golf tournament. We have an annual 5K in our district. We have our homecoming parade that runs through the North Topeka city area. Senior Alternative Transportation Day. So on last day of senior day class, our seniors can drive whatever they choose to school. So you could have a tractor, you could have a four-wheeler, you could have a bicycle. So it's a pretty long-standing tradition. Our elementaries hold yearly field days and have carnivals. And the carnivals, although they are hosted by a building, are open to the entire district. We have our Board of Education members who all also live in the district, have students in the district, and often a good chunk of them have attended the Seaman School District as students in the past. We have parents to teachers at our Early Childhood Center. We have the North Rotary Club, and they also present teacher awards through that club. And then another big thing is we do a prom afterglow after our senior prom. So lots of customs and traditions that are longstanding that have been in the district for many, many years. So knowing our population characteristics, I'd say we're a pretty wide range of educational level. Our largest population probably falls in the bachelor's or master's level. We're not a real culturally diverse district. I would say we fall in the middle class and upper class. Lots of faculty live in the district. Lots of longstanding community members and businesses, families that live in the district. 2 out of the 5 areas we do have a free and reduced population. So we have 2 elementary schools that fall in a lower SES section of our district. But as a whole, we're probably a middle class district. We do have an ELL teacher, but it is a district-wide teacher. We are in the area of Topeka that has many large distribution centers, and those centers employ a good chunk of our community members. Goodyear is probably our biggest one, and then we also have Reese's, and we also have Pet Nutrition Pet, I believe is what's called. We're pretty even on our sex, maybe a little heavier in some schools. In some areas, I know in some of our schools, we might be a little heavier on the males, on the boys. We're a very rural district. So lots of farming and houses that are very spread out. And then little community pods kind of here and there with some residential. We are not a very transient district. We don't have a lot of students coming in and out, coming from different countries or anything of that aspect. Our community channels, we have a district and building websites. We have district email that we use that to communicate with family and with staff. We do phone messages pre-recorded from the superintendent, and that comes into play with like weather cancellations, any kind of communication that he wants to do. He will send it both out as an email as well as through Facebook and Twitter, and then also a pre-recorded phone message that goes out to all of our families and staff. We have a Facebook and Twitter. Each of our buildings have a web page as well as there's a district page. We live stream monthly our Board of Education meetings. So there's a public Q&A section of that, but you can stream in and watch it, and it's pre-recorded, or it's recorded so you can watch it again. We have our city news stations. We have a high school student-ran news station at the high school. We do host foreign exchange students. All of our buildings have site council teams, and the members on that team involve parents, staff members, community members, board members, so a pretty wide range at each of the buildings. And then we do have a district leadership team, and that team houses not just district staff, but we also have community members, we have parents, and we've even had students sit in on some of those conversations that involve district decisions. Our community groups, the ones that we interact with the most and fall probably even out in the North Topeka area. And then there's a few that are in town. So we have the North Topeka Rotary Club. We have community sports clubs. We have parents as teachers, our PTOs. We have the district booster clubs. We have Unified Sports, which is a special ed sports organization that is supported by the district and was previously run by a district employee. So it often was connected to the district and just connected to the high school, but it was students with special needs within our school system that did that, and then they competed outside the community. We have lots of local churches, both family and faculty, that have been attending those for many, many years. Local businesses that support the community. Boys and Girls Club, we have that at all of our elementary buildings, and it runs during the summer as well. And then our high school also connects with Habitat for Humanity and builds houses within the community of Topeka. So their most recent house was built on the south side of Topeka. So we do that as a connection through our high school students that help with that. So knowing our leadership, we have our Board of Education, we have our superintendent, we have directors of special education, innovation, which involves a lot of our technology. We have an elementary curriculum instruction director as well as a secondary. We have our director of nursing, food service. We have a communication liaison that does all of our communication and deals with the press and the public in terms of getting communication out to our families. We have our HR department, we have our finance, we have maintenance, and we have a director of technology. We also have an athletic director at the high school. We have principals at all of our elementary schools. One elementary has a vice principal as well, and then our middle school and high school also has multiple vice principals at the high school and a vice principal at the middle school. All of our building site council groups play a little role in our leadership. When we want to have something go out to our buildings, we often run them through the site council and then on to building leadership teams. In terms of our leadership in our district, we do have a lot of longstanding families and faculty that have attended our schools, have come back to teach in our schools, now have their kids going to our schools. So our leadership and our board tend to play, and our families tend to play a pretty strong role in our leadership and how things are conducted and decided within our district. The community leader characteristics, student access and future opportunities is the focus, and we are pre-K through high school. We actually also have an alternative high school and an 18 to 21 program for our students with special needs. Social emotional support for families, students, staff when there's a tragedy. I'd say our district has done pretty good with that, and having some good community leaders that will pull together when there's been a death or some other tragedy that has happened within our district, that we have leaders within the community in addition to our school leaders that help put those things together to support our students in dealing with that. I do feel that our leaders have a very vested interest in the district and provide resources when they're needed. Our school leaders most live in the community. They're longstanding residents. I would say probably 95% of our building leaders and administration all reside in the Seaman School area. Local business owners, are a good chunk of them are district alumni and house their businesses out in the Seaman area. So outside the city of Topeka and having local businesses within the city, there's a good chunk out in the North Topeka area that were Seaman graduates. We have our District Education Association for our teachers, and then the Kansas Department of Education falls in the Topeka city. So we have our county representatives for that, but we have a lot of connections since that is in our city of Topeka. The economic conditions, like I said, we're North Topeka, and a lot of time we get titled that way, but we are still in Shawnee County. Upper middle class is probably the majority of our population. We have 2 Title I schools. We do accept out-of-district transfers, and that has changed our demographics and increased growth in our student numbers quite a bit. We initially only had one Title I school, and over the last couple years, we have another school that has become a title school. And some of that could be contributed by allowing out-of-district transfers. We're a very rural community, but a very population steady situation. Not a huge amount of growth yet. We've had the same. We've actually cut back on some elementary schools and built some bigger ones. But our numbers of students has stayed pretty steady in the 15 years that I've been in the district. In terms of the economics, like I said earlier, big distribution centers. So like Goodyear is a pretty big one, and we've had families who have spouses and such that have worked in that distribution center. We have Topeka City employees, wages close to the minimum, with many companies, many other large distribution centers in and around the city. We have Home Depot Distribution Center, Target Distribution Center. We have the M&M factory. We actually have two Reese's distribution centers, so there's one on the other side of town. We have Budweiser is also got a distribution center here. So it is an area, Shawnee County, where a lot of distribution centers, and Frito-Lay is also here. That is a big wage earner for a majority of the people in our district, as well as in the city. A lot of jobs run through those distribution centers. Average cost of living in our district community, same or a little higher than the city, but bigger property. Lower income, lower cost to the housing when you're in the city of Topeka. When you come out to North Topeka, you tend to get a little more house for your money, and you're out on some property. But there is no public transportation out where we are. We are not a district that would have the local city bus running through our district or through the business area of North Topeka. The political structure, we have our school board who works closely with the superintendent. We have good communication with good questions for the good of the district and the students. We've had some really good conversations in the past between our school board, our superintendent, and our faculty and our families. We have longstanding board members. Our board members have been part of the board for quite a few years, so it's not a big turnover. We do have times when there is concern that because of that, there could be personal agendas being put into play when deciding certain things and not picturing the district as a whole or looking at all the students and families within the district. The District Teacher Association works closely with the board and the superintendent each year as part of the negotiation process. We do lots of fact finding and looking at similar districts and being competitive with salaries and supports and all those things. I know even with the director of special ed, who I work closely with, we're always looking at other districts, special ed departments that compare to ours and what they're doing for their students and what we might be missing. Sharing state guidelines when appropriate. So when we have decisions we're making, we always try and point out that some of those decisions are coming from above us. They're state regulations or federal regulations, but passing that on to our faculty and our families so they can understand why we're making the decisions we're making. So social tensions, looking to have an open community discussion forum with all the recent racial topics and issues in our country. Our district is attempting, and we have had it scheduled. It's been rescheduled a couple times, but to have an open forum for people and staff and families to come in and kind of have a Q&A on how the district will handle any of those issues that may come up when students are in more contact with each other. Since we are not a very diverse district, it is easy to not have that topic of conversation, but it's still very important because our kids are going to be out in the world after they leave our community, and they'll have those situations arise. So I do believe it's good that our district is still addressing those and not just looking at our current demographics. We do a staff survey, and one of the ones we do is to actually see and get input from our staff on the social aspects and their feelings amongst coworkers and their building culture. So how they feel within the building and how they feel their communication and support is amongst each other and working with their coworkers and their building principals. I would say families that are new to the area could have some difficulties fitting into the community because many of the families and residents have been here a long time, multiple generations that have gone through the Seaman district. Same thing with staff, could have the same obstacles. I know even when I started 15 years ago, I was the only new staff member that did not graduate from Seaman. And I'd say it's probably taken me just about the 15 years to finally have a little bit of a standing. But I still have a little disconnect because I don't live in the Seaman district. I live on the other side of Topeka. So there is a little bit of that disconnect, and it could be a bit of a struggle for some families if they don't feel that they fit in because they're new to the district, new to the community. I do think we work well with other districts in the community and then in the county, and that includes private schools. We actually service some private school students as part of the special ed area, the special ed department. So I don't think we've had any issues working with them when we need to. Knowing extra sources of information. So we have our school website. All of our school websites for the buildings will have staff emails. Same thing, it'll have staff emails even up at the administration level. It lists, and you can access the Board of Education policies. It has the recorded board meetings that you can view. There's some frequently asked question pages. So if there's things that have come up in the past, we are able to put those on there. There's the City of Topeka website. We have the Greater Topeka Chamber of Commerce. Our Kansas Department of Education is here in Topeka. We do student, family, and staff surveys to gain additional information about how those individuals feel. And then we have our communication liaison for the district. So we have a staff that oversees all of our communication, whether it be through electronic to a family member or to the public through a news article or a news station coming in. So she handles all that and kind of funnels everything through there. For power structures, Seaman is a smaller district. The superintendent is, as well as the board members and all upper administration, are very visible. Our superintendent and even our board members do at least a monthly visit to all the schools, and check things out and say hello, so you can put a face to a name. You can find our directors out and about, and that would include the directors of maintenance and food service, who you would picture would not be seen outside where they might be working, and they get out and about and check in on people, check in on their staff. So very visible community, very transparent. We have a chain of command, and we reinforce that often. So concerns from staff and families, even if they might call the central office, they are often directed back to the building first, so that they can go through the building principal and then work their way up to the superintendent. So we try not to bypass the important people that are right there on the front lines that could possibly handle any concerns first off. Within our district, we have building professional learning communities within each building, which would be by grade level and by specialty classes. So like all of the PE teachers would meet, or if you have multiple music teachers. We have our district professional learning community. So that's meeting with grade levels and teachers across the district. And then we have our building site council at each of our buildings. We have our building leadership teams within each building, and that's pre-K through high school. And then we have our district leadership team. So a lot of time when something starts out maybe in a building PLC and there's a concern, it works its way up. So it might go to the district learning PLC, like they talk to another teacher at another school. And then if it's a concern for the whole building, it might go to the building site council, or it could go to the building leadership, and then so on up the chain. We do have building parent teacher associations that help bring any family concerns into the buildings. Our early childhood building has a parents as teachers, so they get a lot of insight from that group as well. And then we have our Seaman Education Association, which is our teacher union. And that helps a lot with our levels and power and the structure that we have to support our teachers. Multicultural issues. We have district community events, and then we always facilitate attendance feedback from those. We have people there that will kind of keep track of, are we seeing people from every building? Is it just becoming certain people? Are we not reaching everybody we need to reach to attend those? Do we need to provide something different so they can? Our building events, those allow us to gain knowledge of our family needs, more of a less of a huge crowd. So you might have a better chance to get to know your families and what kind of demographics you have in your building. We don't have any set dress codes or dress attire, but we do have our dress guidelines, very professional. We do adjust building needs and resources based on student and family demographics. So although we want the idea of equity or equality among our schools, there is still some differences of needs and resources to make the equity the same within that building. So like our title schools might get some more sports or resources than another school. And it's all with the idea of student success in the mind. I do think that we can bring some of that stuff more into the classroom. We aren't a very cultural or diverse district, but I still think they could be topics that could be brought into the classroom more often than they do right now to help build on that. So measuring public opinion and public opinion surveys, I think our district has done pretty well with this over the last about 5 years, that we started doing basically a survey every year. And that includes a family one. It also includes student surveys, which looks at how safe do they feel at school? Do they feel they have a teacher that they can go to? Questions like that. Are they learning? Do they feel like the work they're doing is teaching them? So we do a student survey. And then we also do staff survey, same thing. The way we do them, the majority of them is online, so it gives us an immediate feedback. It's done through a Google form, so we can look at it right away. My one concern is I know we tend to go technology, and I do wonder if we're still reaching everyone. We still have a lot of families that don't always have access to online tools and online surveys. And then are we continuing to include the different routes of delivery? Are we making sure we're not eliminating? Do we need to mail out a survey? Do we need to stop by and talk to parents? So I do wonder if we still need to be doing that and we're missing some parents in the process. What we do with this information, we have looked at the building level, we have looked at it at the district level, and often what it is we look at it and then decide how we need to change something, and then look at what we're doing and what we need to do more of to change those responses to those questions. Our Board of Education meetings allows for some public opinion. They can come in and ask questions of the board or other staff that are there. And then we could poll our local businesses and get some insight into how they feel about the community and the district within their community. And I don't know that we do any kind of polling like that. So that is the community of Seaman USD 345. And thank you, and we'll talk to you later.